Queen Elizabeth was widely known to finish the day off with a glass of champagne. Many people over the years have credited a daily glass of bubbly to Her Majesty's longevity. Sky News host Janie Seales spoke with Kyla Kirkpatrick, CEO and founder of Emperor Champagne, known as Australia's home of champagne, about some of her favourites.
Kyla, thank you so much for joining us. Many people have credited that daily glass of bubbly to Her Majesty's longevity. You certainly know champagne very well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there's some truth in it. You know, it's not just the Queen that was rumoured to have had a glass of champagne at the end of every day and lived a long, full life. But often you hear in the news when you get these centenarians who have birthdays, 105, 106 and beyond, that they often credit a glass of champagne at the end of the day to longevity. And, you know, let's be honest, it's not about drinking the whole bottle. It is about having a glass, and moderation is key. But champagne is rumoured to be great for the memory, great for vitality, great for longevity. So well done to the Queen.
Absolutely. And tell us about some of her favourite glasses of champagne and the history behind it.
So the Queen does have the right to issue a royal warrant, and a royal warrant is for a good or a service that's regularly delivered and serviced in Buckingham Palace and within the royal family. So there were 7 champagne houses that received the royal warrant, but really most commonly she was rumoured to have had a glass of Bollinger, but more frequently rumoured to have had a glass of Pol Roger most nights. And, you know, we often in Australia, we're so far from history, we're so far from France, we forget that the names on every bottle are not just brands. You know, these are people. These are also families. They have stories, they've lived, they've loved, they've triumphed. And like the long lineage of the royal family, these champagne families have long lineage too. And I think the connection between England and the royal family and Pol Roger as a champagne house in particular goes way back. In fact, it goes way back to their Prime Minister, Sir Winston Churchill, a very well-known man in English history for many reasons. But it was rumoured that he was first introduced to the House of Pol Roger at a forum in Paris. And it wasn't Pol himself that he met. He met Odette, Pol Roger's beautiful daughter, and she was said to be a classic beauty. So did he fall in love with the champagne? Did he fall in love with the girl pouring the champagne? I don't know. But that was the beginning of a very long relationship between this champagne house and the royal family, even to this day.
Isn't that just incredible? It's a wonderful story. And you were actually in Epinay, weren't you, where they make Pol Roger, and it was also ordered for some of the other royals at their weddings.
This is correct. So I was in Epinay, I was at Pol Roger when the phone call came through for Kate and William's wedding. And Kate and William served the Pol Roger entry-level range, the reserve. They call it the white foil. And the house were a little bit nervous because around this period of time, they were releasing the very prestigious 2008 vintage, one of the best vintages of all time, but it wasn't a lot. So they were worried that they were going to insist on the vintage 2008. But Kate and William said, no, this is one of Granny's favourites. This is what Grandma drinks. It's good enough for her. It's good enough for us. So they did serve the Brut Reserve. And then again at Meghan and Harry's wedding, they served the Pol Roger Brut Reserve. And then again for Princess Eugenie and Jack, they served Pol Roger. But if you go back a little bit further in royal times, Princess Diana, former Lady Diana, and now the King of France, they served a mixture of Veuve Clicquot and vintage 1961 Dom Perignon at their wedding. So there has been a break in tradition, and there certainly is more Pol Roger in the glasses of the current royals.
And I believe a lot of the champagne sales have gone through the roof recently across Australia and no doubt over much of the world. How do you think people will be celebrating her life and mourning her loss?
I think that a lot of people will be having a glass of champagne as we come to celebrate her life this week. And why shouldn't we? You know, whether you're a monarchist or not, she was an amazing woman. She was a woman that served her country tirelessly and dutifully and never putting a foot out of step, which is really not an easy thing to do in such a long reign. You know, she really was such a great lady. put yourself in the monarchy or put it just as a regular person. She was an amazing woman. And I do think that there's going to be a lot of Pol Roger popping next week. I think we'll be paying tribute to her. I'll certainly be popping a bottle of Pol Roger and paying tribute to her. We have seen sales on Emperor go through the roof over the last week, people getting in that celebratory mode, you know, and it is a celebration. It shouldn't be a commiseration. It certainly should be a celebration.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, she just never, it was never about her, was it, in terms of how she served her entire life pretty much, and just never put a foot wrong. She was just absolutely incredible.
What an amazing role model for any walk of life, for someone who was so dedicated to the cause and always putting the people first. You know, there was never any drama surrounding Queen Elizabeth II, you know, and the tabloids are actively seeking it. They're trying to find it, and it just wasn't there. You know, she really was a gracious woman, a woman that put other people first. And you know what I love when the children talk about Grandma, and it sort of puts her in a more human light, you know, and they say how much love that she brought and how that she was the rock, she was the stability within the family. And I really think that's so beautiful. And we can admire her for so many reasons, not just the role that she had in the monarchy, but the way that she held her family together and her people together through times of crisis. And let me tell you, she would have had many, many, many times of crisis throughout her life, and she was always steadfast. She was always a rock.
She certainly was. In one of her most memorable quotes in 2012, sadly, it seems that it is tragedy that often draws out the most and the best from the human spirit. So well worded and so true.
Yes. Not dissimilar to Champagne. Lots of triumph, lots of tragedy.
That's exactly right, yes. Well, we'll certainly be raising a glass to toast Queen Elizabeth II, who certainly gave up a lifetime of service to the job. Kyla Kirkpatrick, CEO of Emperor Champagne, thank you so much.